Yeah, so it started 5 years ago, I found out. By then, I'd already lived in Hawaii for 3 years and was absolutely loving it. The climate was perfect, and I had a good community. And one day, I found out it was actually early morning of my birthday that my husband was having and what I thought was one affair. And it turned into a year later finding out trickled truths and 8 different days of discovering, more information, that he was having multiple affairs with escorts, sugar babies, prostitutes, and spending pretty much our entire retirement savings on them for luxury trips, designer shopping sprees, money for sex, time with them, you name it. Signs. But when you trust someone, completely, unconditionally love them, you're not looking for signs.
And did you leave right away?
Coding.
Hello, Samantha.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Samantha Bailey, you are my first Canadian guest.
Hey.
And you're originally from Canada?
Yeah, I'm originally from Winnipeg.
Winnipeg.
We call it Winterpeg because 30 below zero and then some sometimes is a little crazy. Anyway, in the early 90s, I moved to Texas and pretty much never left because I don't really like the cold that much.
I was about to ask you. So you were born and raised in Canada.
Yeah.
Tell me about your life in Canada, and then tell me what made you decide, other than the cold, what made you pick America and Texas of all places?
Great question. So, growing up in Canada, when you experience cold winters and you don't know anything different, it's kind of cool. My dad we'd get blizzards and the snow would go like above our 6 foot fence. And he would make blocks. And we had an igloo in our backyard, like it was at least 7 feet tall, inside 6 feet because he had thick blocks with the curved entrance. He put an indoor outdoor carpet and an electric light, and we had snow benches, and my mom would make hot chocolate for us when we'd go in there, and it was actually quite warm. It really protected you from the bitter wind of the cold. So we spent a lot of time in the igloo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. It's so funny that you brought up igloo. 2 quick stories. The first time I went to Vegas, they were all shocked, and I'm like, why? Why are they behaving like this? They're like, you guys have summer in Canada? I'm like, what are you guys saying right now? I thought you guys all lived in igloos, and I'm like, huh?
Right. Or they
And
know.
that was in 2017. So I'm like, come on now, we have the internet, we got Google.
Right. I've had people say, "Oh, you're from Canada. Do you know so and so?" One time I kind of went along with it and made up a story. But I think we know, like it's a small town and we know everyone in Canada.
Yeah, they assume that Canada is like this small little, the small little
Yeah,
states, and everybody's just next door neighbors, which is,
right. Not
but
so. Yeah.
we're here to tell you guys that's not the truth. We don't all live in igloos. You should
No,
know by now.
but it's funny when I share because I have an old picture of us in playing in the backyard in the igloo, and I kind of play along with it. Yeah, this is where we lived, and because there's nothing but a creek and snow behind us. So in front of me in the picture is the house, but you can't see that. You just see the igloo. So I kind of went on and on about it. So I probably spread that rumor that Americans think we live in igloos.
They got it from you.
I,
And then you decided to move to Texas.
yeah. Then it was actually a job opportunity, and it was just going to be like a year contract. and we went to LA. And I absolutely had a hard time in LA. First of all, the cost of living was extremely high. I found it difficult to make connections. People were very, I mean, not everyone, but very kind of superficial. And I wasn't used to, I think because I was used to I didn't even drive on a freeway before. And it was, everything was more smaller scale, and there everything's big scale. And a year actually isn't a long time to really get to know someone. After living in Hawaii, I realized that it took a couple of years to make connections and friends and whatnot. So, but anyway, had an opportunity to work in Texas and absolutely loved it here. Got connected and involved in a local church and made friends through that. Still I mean, I have friends that are like, we've known each other for 30 years and kept those connections. And then my visa expired. So had to go back to Canada and waited 3 years for another opportunity to come back to the US. This time was being sponsored for a green card. So once that came through, moved back, and I have never gone back. And probably about 15 years ago, I became a citizen as well.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Would
really,
would you move back to Canada?
no,
You know, I had to ask that question because, picking up and moving somewhere where you know absolutely nobody, it's kind of scary. And
it it really is. And a good example of that is when I first moved to Hawaii, and I went to Starbucks. It was like the first or second week I was there, and I was unpacking boxes and hadn't really socialized with anyone yet. And everyone in Starbucks was sitting with someone, and I was the only one alone. And I kind of ran out crying. Like,
yeah,
so, and that day, I'm like, I'm not going to let this get to me. I went and wrote my phone number on Post-it notes and put it on all my neighbors' doors. And I
oh,
have friends, and I put a little note, hey, if you want to go to Starbucks one day, here's my number. I'm your new neighbor or whatever. And I didn't know who the neighbors were. I just, went down the street, and I still have a couple of friends that I received from doing that action. So
that's
it was
amazing. And that's a great way to meet people. I know everybody's scared of the world right now, and getting to know people is like, oh my gosh, you don't know what you're gonna get. It's like biting into a candy, right?
right.
And I would really like to know, like, what is your take on somebody that wants to move, but they're afraid. They know they're supposed to try something new. They know they're supposed to leave where they are at right now, and they want to take a leap of faith, but struggling between, imposter syndrome. I'm scared. I don't know what I'm gonna expect. What if it doesn't work? What encouragement could you give to them?
Yeah, that's great because when I left Winnipeg to go to LA, I was like, yes, I want to. No, I don't. Yes, I don't. And when the decision finally came, it wasn't that hard because I didn't like my job at the time.
Yeah.
So it was a different opportunity. And some of the mistakes that I made, I'll share when moving. We just made the decision. It was good. Financially. And in my mind, we were just going to do it temporarily for 12 months. And I think that was a mistake I made that kind of hindered me from making connections, was that thought of temporary, instead of just diving in. This is where I live. I'm going to make the best of it. And, part of you kind of is afraid to make connections.
You're talking about, you doing those little notes and you
Yeah.
jumping between.
Anyway, moving, it was actually, I didn't have kids at the time. I think it's more difficult to move when you have a family, they're in school. Do you want to uproot them? How does the family feel? Are you including them in the decision making as well? So I think there's a lot of things that you make your decision on. For me, I didn't like my job, so I was ready to change.
Yeah.
And I wanted the adventure. I always wanted to be on, even if I was in the audience, let's make a deal with Bob Barker. And
Oh,
all those things happen in LA, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
Bob Barker. And anyway, it was just a fun, great experience. But I unfortunately, it was going to be a temporary contract. So in my head, I was like temporary, which kind of blocked and hindered me from making connections because I'm like, oh, I don't want to get close to someone because I'm moving anyway. But it doesn't matter if you're far or near. You can make connections throughout the world, and I learned that in Hawaii, and I've gone back to visit a few times, and I always hang out with my girlfriends there. I have places to stay, with friends. And, it's just, there are seasons and friends are there certain times than when you need them, and certain times, you need another group of friends. Not a group, not that I left my friends, but it's just so nice to have more and realize that, in my mind, I said, oh, everyone's already established their friendships now. No one's going to want to be a friend with me. I mean, I didn't say that out loud, but in my head, I
It
was
was in
thinking,
your head.
and
Hmm.
that's like negative energy. You have to like get away from it and think positively. And that's why I just like, okay, I'm not going to go down the same road in LA where I felt kind of down and depressed and didn't have anyone. And I'm just going to make something happen, not just sit back and wait for it to happen. I wanted to create it and not just wait for it.
I love that. And you know what? I understand what you mean in terms of friendships. Like you have different groups of friends and they serve different purposes in your life.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay because maybe this group of friends serve a different purpose that you need in the season that you're in now. And the other ones were there when you needed them, maybe in a season where you felt like you were breaking. You were changing your career and you needed that advice and they had experience on what you were trying to do. But this group of friend is now
Yeah.
your spiritual support, right?
Exactly, exactly. Just, there's always something that you have that you can relate to in different friendships. Oh, they
Yeah.
went through that. I'm going to call them up. And, oh, they had this issue with their kid. Let's connect with them. So it really depends on the circumstance. And I probably have like that one, five friends that are like my core group. They're dear to my heart. We have been friends forever, and we know where all the dead bodies are buried, so we have
Yeah.
to remain friends. So, and
Yeah.
you can share anything with them, and it's not going to go past them. Those to me are
That, that,
yeah,
that, as we get older, because, when we're younger and we're teenagers, we just have friends without really a purpose because we haven't really discovered, okay, why are we friends with these people? It's either because, we look the same, we have the same hair, or we like the same sport or the same
yeah,
subjects or something like that. But I find that as we get older, we find purpose in the connections and the
yeah.
people in our lives. So I loved what you just said.
Yeah, when you're young too, your friends are your age, and older you get, the more diverse your friends are, and
Yeah.
different and different, opinions and whatnot. But how boring would it be if we were all the same? you
It'll be
know,
real boring.
Bring the same thing. Oh, do you need help? Oh, I forgot you're an expert in that already. you
Yeah.
know,
That is true. So you started out your career. What was your career
lately or back then?
back then?
Well, I've always been in the banking and finance industry. And I have been, most recently, I'm an executive assistant with a major financial institution for, an executive. That's my 9 to 5.
Okay. Now we're going to jump into your purpose
My,
24/7. It doesn't turn off. You're living in it. And we are talking about betrayal.
yeah, yeah,
And how did you get to here now? Your journey through wanting to help people heal, wanting to help people navigate through betrayal, and not harboring that resentment, that pain, and stripping themselves away, saying, well, it's my fault why this person did this. If I hadn't done that, maybe my outcome would have been different. How did
yeah.
it start for you?
Yeah, so it started 5 years ago, I found out. By then, I'd already lived in Hawaii for 3 years and was absolutely loving it. The climate was perfect, and I had a good community. And one day, I found out it was actually early morning of my birthday that my husband was having and what I thought was one affair. And it turned into a year later finding out trickled truths and 8 different days of discovering, more information that he was having multiple affairs with escorts, sugar babies, prostitutes, and spending pretty much our entire retirement savings on them for luxury trips, designer shopping sprees, money for sex, time with them, you name it. And it was not only the physical infidelity, but the financial infidelity that really put me in a tailspin. And that breach of trust just broke me to my soul because I never would have. I didn't suspect. I didn't see any signs. He treated me well. We were happy. We had a great marriage. And so it really took me for a loop. And I did a lot of things that, I share in my book now, wrong, that delayed my healing process. And one of the things I did right was I journaled because your mind is sometimes foggy. So, and I just wanted to get out the pain. And this is what happened. This is what we did. And I just kind of, it was like a release. And I also realized it was kind of a way to track my healing progress, which was kind of in a like, not really going anywhere. And one day, um, I took the book, the journaling, and I realized that I can help people. I can guide them into the direction towards healing. I can let them know what not to do. Healing is not a straight line or a linear path. It's got a lot of curves and turns and ups and downs. But in order to heal, you have to feel. You have to go through the grieving process and the journey to heal. And I had gotten to a stage where I thought I was okay, but I wasn't really happy with life. And I'm now, a couple of years later. Well, 5 years ago it happened. 2 years ago I started my healing journey, and today it's just like life is so good. So many things are happening that are just like positive. And you talk about my purpose. My purpose, before I had titles, I was a mom, a grandmother, an employee, a friend, but I didn't really know or couldn't really, hone into what my purpose was. If you asked me, I would have gone kind of like, I would have been stumped. But now, and to have a purpose brings such joy into your life because it took me, I'm 61. It took me a while to figure out what my purpose was. But boy, when you find out, it lights a fire in your heart, and you just want to share with the world. But I want to offer hope for healing and let others who have experienced betrayal trauma know that they're not alone and understand that the choices that somebody else deliberately makes is not your fault.
You said when you discover your purpose, it lights a fire in your heart.
Yeah, it does.
I've never heard anybody describe it like that.
Oh, well, I don't.
And that is a spot on description of the feeling.
Yeah, because you're all warm and fuzzy, and
Yeah, and you feel all these warm chills all over your body, and you just
yeah, it's,
feel good, right?
what causes the dopamine. When you get that energy and that
Yeah,
excitement, and it's all natural. Because you know what you're supposed to be doing with your life.
and you feel fulfilled. Like you
Yeah,
feel like you just ran a marathon, to be honest.
right. Yeah.
And, you talk about different things that you did and things that you said you shouldn't have done. But I want to tell you, and I know people may not agree, but you're right. Healing is a journey. You go through different stages. One minute you feel up like, oh my gosh, I accomplished everything. I'm healed. I'm good. Tomorrow you may wake up angry, resentment, fear, different things floating around. Tomorrow you may wake up and you want to go to the bar and just get drunk. You want to go find somebody just to feel good for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then days later, you may wake up crying in pain and can't explain to anybody what you're feeling. All you know is that you're feeling pain and you can't describe where. Is it on your arms, your legs, your heart? It just feels like you're collapsing on the inside. But I want to tell you that everything you went through was all purposeful to get you to your purpose.
I agree, and I'd do it all over again just to get to where I am right now, because life is so, I almost get choked up, but it's like, it's so good right now. And I want to offer that to others. It's my passion, it's my mission, and it's my purpose.
And you're doing a great job. I really want to tell you, you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
It's not even in the way that you speak, it's your presence. Like you have this warm, fuzzy, calm thing about your presence that's like, I'm loving it, right? So you can tell when somebody has truly done the work, and I can tell that you've done the work and you're doing the work.
Yeah, that doesn't. I mean, I still sometimes have triggers. I'm like, ooh, that kind of hurt a little bit, but they don't stay with me like they used to. Because it was like, yeah, that's part of my life, but that's not my entire life and journey. It's, to be continued, and the best is yet to come.
Exactly. So, hey, I hope you're enjoying this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. You said it was on your birthday you found out about your husband's betrayal.
Yeah.
Take us back to that birthday.
Yeah. Okay. So it was like about 1 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't sleep. So I decided to go downstairs, not to disturb my husband with, the light, and just watch some TV. Maybe I'd fall asleep. And because I was like, oh, it's my birthday. I'm excited. I don't know why. But as I'm watching TV, I decided, well, maybe I should check his email. And then I was like, why? I've never snooped before. We'd been married over 16 years by then. Why would I do it now? But I found myself, Googling Yahoo email sign in and, putting in his email. But I'm like, well, I don't know his password. But divine intervention, came. And I guessed it on the first try, and like, score, I'm in, right? So, I'm scrolling through the email and everything looks fine, communication between, him and myself, friends, coworkers. So I was about to close and then I clicked archive email. And the first email I saw was a reservation for a hotel that he was on a business trip the week before in Phoenix. But the next one I had was for the following night at a hotel, reservation for two. And I'm like, in Waikiki, this is when we lived in Honolulu. So, and I'm like, ooh, the things started turning, and I'm like, maybe it's a surprise for my birthday, but we'd already celebrated and he was going to take me out that evening too. And he had asked if he could go out for drinks with someone from work the following night, that he had this hotel reservation. So I decided, I'm going to go to the hotel and I'm going to check it out, see, I'm going to wait till tomorrow. So I went upstairs to bed, tossed and turned, and got up, showered, got ready, made coffee, put it on his nightstand. And he's like, thanks, babe. And I'm like, oh, you're welcome. And he goes, what's wrong? And I just kind of said, are you having an affair on me? And he looked me straight in the eyes and he goes, no, babe, why would you ask me that? I would never do that to you. I love you way too much. And I'm like, I'm still hoping it's a surprise or something. But I get to work and I see streamers, presents, balloons all around my desk. And I'm like, I just don't feel like celebrating. I feel like, bawling. And I'm like dabbing my eyes, putting eye drops. And I was the first one at work. And my coworker came in, and I guess she saw me looking a little bit distraught. And she goes, "Is everything okay?" And I'm like, that's when the floodgates opened. And I'm like, my husband's having an affair. And she couldn't believe it because he just portrayed himself to be such an amazing, human being and husband. And I'm like, yeah, it's true. Because when I got to work, before anyone came in, I looked at the archive email again. And the first email that I thought was for a business trip wasn't in Phoenix at all. It was for a beachfront resort in Hawaii on the same island underneath my nose for two, reservation for two. So I put two and two together. I'm like, they're both like, I knew he was doing something he shouldn't be doing. And so I drove home. I don't remember the drive home. I was sitting outside on the lanai and the phone rang. It was him. A couple of times I just let it go to the voicemail, and I finally picked it up. And he says, "I called you at work. Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just kind of was tired. I couldn't sleep last night, not feeling too good. So I'm just going to take the rest of the day off." And he's kind of, poking at me. "Are you sure? Are you sure there's nothing?" Like, I'm not, when you are hit with that, it was hard to pretend that everything was okay. So he must have sensed something. And I took another opportunity to let him tell me the truth. And I said, "Are you having an affair on me?" And at this point, he's almost mad at me. He's like, "Why would you even ask me that? You know, I'd never do that. I love you too much. Why would you have that in your head even? Da, da, da." And then I lost it. And I said, "I know you weren't in Phoenix last week. You were at a beachfront resort with her the entire time. And you also have another reservation at a hotel in Waikiki to see her tomorrow." There was about a 5-second pause where nothing was said. And to me, it felt like an eternity. And that confirmed everything that I had uncovered. And it felt like a very long 5 seconds. He didn't say a word. And then I just like, "Who is she? How long? Where did you meet?" Da, 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 like, "End it now." Like, I was just blurting out anything that came to mind. But inside, like, I just felt like someone had thrown a grenade into my soul. And this is the enemy who's supposed to love and protect me has now shredded my heart. And it was a very difficult discovery, to say the least.
Betrayal and deception,
Yeah,
all wrapped up in one.
yeah, yeah,
I've been seeing all these things going around on social media saying, a person could live with you and give you their best, but be living a double life. And you talked about waking up at 1 a.m. and it was like your intuitions was screaming at you saying, go in his email. You've never done it before, but all of a sudden, 1 a.m., go check his email. It was
yeah.
almost like,
I can just say that, God shone on me and said, "You've had enough. He's done enough." And, you know, I discovered it. I
Mhm.
just, I don't, like I said, I didn't see any signs. And for 3 years, when I was in this place of not moving forward, I believed that there were no signs. But once I started healing, oh, there were many signs. But when you trust someone completely, unconditionally love them, you're not looking for signs.
Yeah,
So, that's part of my book. I share the signs that are there and what to do with them when you see them. You might have a great marriage and can confirm that those signs were just nothing to be worried about. But it's okay to check every once in a while to make sure that, you know, they're not going down the wrong path.
that's true. And you talk about signs. Can you tell us about some of those signs that, people have their own opinions or, ways that they operate in their marriages and relationships, and that's perfectly fine. Some people don't believe that you should be checking each other's phones or, privacy emails. But I believe that when you're one, there should be no secrets, anyways. So even if you are checking your partner's phone or going through their emails, there's no reason to be upset. There's no reason to feel, and they say, well, if you have to check it, then you shouldn't be with the person. But I don't agree with that either. So can you tell us what are some signs that, everything seems perfect? You're going on vacation, you have a beautiful marriage, your sex life is great. You guys wake up in the morning together, you're spending time, but there's signs that, and I like to say that our minds block it out and we only want to see what's on the surface.
Yeah. The number one sign was he would take his phone with him everywhere. Like he would have to go to the restroom in the middle of the night, that phone was with him. And along with when he was in my presence, I could never see the screen. He'd always angle it a certain way. But again, I never put two and two together that,
Yeah.
I thought, oh, it's private, it's to do with work or something like that. And then when I think we were driving somewhere and he had the map on, but it wasn't, the map wasn't hitting the right address. So I went to reach for his phone to put in the address or to help the app figure out where we were going. And
Yeah.
he got very defensive and grabbed it from my hands. And I'm like, I was confused because he just got really angry right away. And I'm like, well, that's kind of out there. I just kind of chalked it up. Well, maybe he's having a bad day because,
Yeah.
but things like that, if they untag themselves when you've tagged them on Facebook, because who do they not want to see that they're with you? If it's because they can do it and you don't even realize that it's being done, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think you get notification if they untag themselves.
No,
So
you don't.
yeah, so I had no clue he was untagging himself off of all of these, posts where before he'd comment and, oh, my beautiful wife, and I can't wait, blah, 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 we're going to do this date night. And that stopped and started working out at the gym a lot, like a lot, because he wanted to look buff for the 19 and 29-year-olds he was doing his thing with, and he's in his
Wow.
so yeah, that was something that was a bit of I mean our daughter younger than our daughter's age, some of them, and that really was disturbing to me. But things like I have a list of about 20 things that I recognized. The defensiveness, all of a sudden gaslighting, when you question things, they turn it around and make it like, oh, you're the one that's crazy. I would never do something like that. Kind of like him
Right.
getting angry and saying, why would you ask me something? You're crazy. Like he wouldn't say you're crazy, but you think that, oh, I can't believe I would ask that because he's such a good man. And it
Right.
turns, and yet he's guilty all along.
Yeah.
And another, it's not gaslighting, there's another term. Um, well, narcissistic behavior.
Yeah, let's
That,
talk about that.
yeah. So I didn't know. Well, I kind of now do know what a narcissist, because I think some people use that term kind of loosely.
Yes.
Obviously, narcissist, and I realized that there were so many signs, and I know there are different types of narcissists, so I don't know what type he was, but there were things like when he wanted to show me pictures of these women who were very beautiful, by the way, very petite, opposite for me. I'm 5'10" and blonde, and they had long dark hair and very petite, all very beautiful. But it was like he was almost bragging when he showed me how many, like he wanted me to see how beautiful they were. And that really affected me in a very long, for a long time, my self-esteem. I look in the mirror and I'm comparing myself, to these 20 something year olds. And then I realized that, I'm, I, he would not have had any of these women if he had not been paying them. And I turned my kind of I turned it from being so feeling bad about myself to feeling empowered and having true empathy for him for not realizing what true love was, thinking that that was the way to get it. That's not intimacy or love at all. That's like, you can buy anything, but you can't buy love.
You can buy anything, but you can't buy love. And you gave him that true love.
Love.
Now you're going to have me dancing.
I got it in my head now. No, no.
Now, you're so sweet.
I took
The kids,
sorry.
6 children.
Yeah, yeah. That's another story.
You know, how was it for them? Because obviously, you confronted him.
Well,
Things couldn't have just.
share with them because they're all adults. And I figured that it was their thing, it was his story to share, not mine. And so I wasn't present, and all 6 kids were around. And they asked him questions back and forth, and some of them were very, very angry. It was a betrayal. It was a trauma for them as well, because here they thought we had a great family unit, and now they're like questioning where the future of that is going to be, and thinking that their dad was their hero and seeing him in a different light.
And that's hard for kids.
I will say that some of them didn't want to talk to him for the longest time, and I bridged that gap. Number one, I didn't want my children to have to feel that they were having to take sides. Number two, I think that, well, I reminded them, your dad's always been there in good times and bad times, and he was a great father. But right now for him, this is a bad time and he needs you. And slowly, they came around, but I definitely supported them having that relationship and that connection. Yeah, they might view things differently, and it took some of them longer than others, but I didn't want to sever their relationship at all.
And that's good that you did that. Because a lot of times when we're going through emotions, we pass that off onto our kids and our loved ones. Sometimes intentional, sometimes not intentional.
Yeah, it's really not healthy. It really isn't. It
No.
has a purpose.
And it's important to allow them to, process and go through their feelings and then make their own decisions without us trying to burden them to pick a side or don't talk to him or talk to him and force it. But to just help them go through the processes. Okay, this happened not just to me, but to all of us.
Yeah, yeah, it did. It affected, friends and family because, people were surprised because he kept it hidden from everyone.
Yeah. And did you leave right away?
No, I didn't. It's funny because I always said to him and to myself, you cheat on me, I'm out of here. But unless you experience it, you really don't know what your reaction will be. And I was totally, totally in love, and I wanted to make it work. And he was willing to admit where he'd been wrong, willing to work towards healing himself. We went to therapy, counseling, all kinds of stuff together, separate. He'd had a huge porn addiction, which kind of, that's why when the dopamine high wasn't enough from that, he crossed over to, having physical affairs. So he joined it was for porn addiction group with the other man, and he was doing really well for 3 years, and I was just feeling like he loved me, but I was tracking his every move. I was like babysitter. I knew where he was at all times. I had that little app. I could see where he was. If he was out having dinner or with someone, with a coworker, meeting, anything, you send me a picture. I'm like, it was his suggestion originally, but all it did was create anxiety and stress for me, because like, if he was a little bit off on the map, where is he? What are you doing? Or
Yeah.
what? Send me the picture right away. And I told him that I was going to I was going to give back control. And I also gave him, by then I had taken over the finances, and I gave him my debit card. And I said, I'm going to continue paying the bills, but I'm going to keep our money separate. I'm going to have my own bank account. You have yours, and blah, blah, blah. So what he did was he changed the password. What he didn't know was it was still a joint account. My password still worked. Like, duh.
Yeah.
Uh, So within a week of him having his freedom, he made a profile on several dating sites, and I can see all these transactions. They say one thing, because they don't say, dataslut.com. It
Yeah. Yeah.
but you can find ways of, you just Google a bunch and you'll find out who it's for. And so he created these profiles. And a week before our 20th anniversary, he hooked up with a 27-year-old, paid her $300 for sex, and, took her to the hotel. And I served him with divorce papers on our 20th wedding anniversary because I was like, done. To me, how good character and true character is how you behave when no one's watching. And and I also wanted a sign because I'm like, it was so hard to leave, but it was hard to stay too. I just was torn, and I was just like, I need an answer. Where's my answer? If I'm doing the right thing, and maybe we can work this out. But it was the best thing because I had my answer that he couldn't remain faithful. So
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
here I am.
And it's a complete burnout having to monitor somebody like that.
It's
There's
exhausting. It's
there's
exhausting.
no enjoyment. Like,
Yeah. And it's just the fear of,
yeah.
even where you look, where's it going to be? What if? And it's just not worth it. It's just not. And that's like kind of, instead of looking in front of you, you're always looking in the rearview mirror, and you miss all the opportunity and the fun ahead
Yeah.
of you because you're constantly looking back. And, that's one of the things that I was doing. I was always looking back, expecting something bad to happen. And, you know, and creating this kind of like victim cycle that I was stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was out of it, it's like, oh wow, I didn't realize that I was there. And to be able to and I've heard this a few times, but I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. Like, there's just such joy in life now. And I don't even know if I had joy before, but I got the fire in my heart now.
Yeah, you got that burning flame.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, we talk about deception a lot. And life's deceit, life's deceptions, right? And throughout the whole thing, he knew that he would have to find another way to manipulate you enough to get your eyes off of him so he could go back into his old ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And that dives into not forcing anyone to change, because people have to want the change for themselves, because when they
yeah,
don't, they're only going to deceive you, so that you start, it's kind of like hand holding them, like you're stifling, they feel like you're stifling them, and
yeah,
you're constantly like watching them. So like, okay, how am I going to flip it to get her eyes off me so I can do what I want to do, because I'm not ready to change. I'm
yeah.
enjoying this, and he was enjoying it, right?
That,
So
that's the same with healing. I mean, I can offer hope and different options and resources that are going to lead you to the path of healing. But if you want to stay where you are, it's not going to work. You're going to be in a cycle until you step out of that. Maybe you're comfortable in that. Maybe the attention you've received is what you like. But let me tell you, the attention that you receive when you are healed is way bigger a blessing than what you feel when you're not.
it's say that again.
Oh no. Rewind. uh, uh, the the what you're going to get out of healing is just way more positive than what you get out of when you're stuck in that victim mentality. I think I said it better the first time, but um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
concept.
pretty much the same thing.
You know, there is so much beauty in healing, and I find that there are a lot of people, female and male, that are in relationships where they really just want it to work. They're in love. They don't want to let it go. They will do anything. They'll do anything to put blinders on when they see the signs, but their eyes are wide open when that person shows them some sort of love or comfort or peace. And they're stuck. They feel stuck. They don't want to leave. They want to leave, but they don't know if they should. They don't know if they're gonna survive without that person. It's like now people feel like people are their oxygen. So, what advice would you give to somebody who's in a relationship? They've seen the signs. They they're baffled. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to confront. They've confronted, and now this person has told them, okay, well, I'm gonna change. Don't worry, I'm working on myself. Give me time. You know, everybody has flaws. I'm working on myself. But they're just completely burnt out and they want to leave. What advice would you give to them?
I think if they've just found out, the best advice I can give is don't make any big changes in your life immediately because you need time because you don't want to regret what you do. You want to think about things. And it's like, do you need to gather evidence? Is it to the point where you want to get a divorce? You know, document things. I'm not pro divorce. I loved being married and I loved my husband, but I had boundaries and enough was enough. I think that two people, if they're willing to do the work and willing to make the change and work together towards healing, and for the other, and there's no gender bias for betrayal trauma, it happens to anyone.
Mhm.
And I just am more my expertise is more towards women because that's what I experienced. But there are also men who have experienced betrayal trauma as well. I would also like to share that I would talk about, I mean, I think it's good to have a therapist together and separately so you can talk because chances are you might have found out some truth, but they're not going to tell you the truth because they don't want to hurt you. And the more you know, the more you might hurt. So there might be a way to discuss with a therapist the importance of full disclosure, and then maybe meeting with that therapist and understanding, let's put everything out on the table because really all we want is the truth because we've been lied to. What's the truth? What's not the truth? Just tell us the truth. It's going to be hard, but I would rather hard than hear the lie. And also, just, I think one of the things that women tend to do is to blame themselves.
Yeah.
And again, I truly believe that if this is something that your partner wanted to do, he should have left you. You can find all kinds of reasons and justification to do it because, blaming it on the other person. But there's a lot of time and effort that's involved in having an affair. And we're not here to say, you know, oh, it was my fault because I didn't do this or didn't do that. Don't blame yourself. That's just going to bring you down further.
And for somebody who's, in their mind pulling apart themselves of what they could have done, maybe they could have, been more wilder, more fun, um, did something different to look a different way. What would you say to them while they're pulling apart at themselves and trying to strip themselves down to nothing?
I think Again, this is where a therapist really comes in. And when I say therapist, if you can find someone that is certified with betrayal trauma, because the first couple of therapists I went to and shared my story, they were shocked. And I'm like, I don't want you to be shocked. I want you to help me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
need your help.
yeah, they're like, Rick, I want to be what is it?
Your project?
Yeah, right. And so that was really helpful, finding someone who is experienced in that, and also not, you know, talking separately helps. Don't always have to be together, because sometimes there are things that you want to share that you want your husband or your partner to hear, and vice versa. And that can be done through the therapist when they're talking to them, like, hey, what are your thoughts on if we share this, blah, 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 on this day? And let me tell you the importance of it. And, kind of back and forth like that, because it's just really important to not hold everything back. Like for me, I had 8 different discovery days. First it was one affair, then it was 5, and then 6, and then 8. And 8 different times he told me more and more and more. And it was like, I, when you've been stabbed and then they're twisting the knife, it
Yep,
was
twisting the
like,
knife,
go
pulling it
deep.
out, then putting it back in and
Yeah,
twisting it again. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so it's just really important, and also for them to feel like it's safe, that they can share, that you're not like, if you've agreed to work it out, um, then give yourself a few months. I wouldn't leave immediately. I would give it at least 3 months to let the first little bit settle. Talk to a therapist. You really don't want to drink alcohol because that's a depressant and you already have a gaping wound. Why add salt to it? I would also say avoid cannabis, because even though you might get temporary relief from that, again,
Yeah.
it's going to your healing, because temporary relief is going to stop you in your tracks. And you have to heal to feel. You have to go through those stages. You can't just jump and go, oh, I missed this part, but I'm good. I'm okay, because you're going to end up going backwards then instead of forwards.
That is true. I agree with the therapist. I agree with separate sessions. It gives you, it's almost like an awakening because you're finding out things about yourself that maybe you never expressed to your partner. And it's good to come to those realizations, to discover those things about you, about yourself. And through discovering those things about yourself, you're discovering those things about your partner as well.
And so,
That maybe, yeah, right? And maybe for the years that you worked together, being the good wife, the faithful wife, there were some things that you didn't like about the person that they were doing, but you just kept doing and doing and doing and living and just maintaining who you are, that you didn't even really discover who you really are
yeah, yeah,
because you're living in a routine.
yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. That back in the day, everyone found going to a therapist comical. You hear somebody say, I'm going to go see a therapist. They found it funny. Like, you're going to see a therapist, something's wrong with you. But it's so therapeutic when you can talk to somebody that's unbiased, that doesn't know you, but can give you real opinions and advice on what's going on in your life without any judgment.
Yeah, it's so true. And I had that same mindset, because the first time I ever went into therapy was, I called the office and I'm like, I need an appointment for therapy. I'm fine, but I just need an appointment. Um, uh, if I come into the waiting room, are they all crazy? Are they going to be rolling their eyes? Are they going to be? And everyone's normal, It's, and I'm
It's true.
going to be. I don't know. You have this vision of this psych hospital, and everyone's kind of just going a little bit crazy.
Yeah,
But
the first time I went to therapy, I thought everyone's going to look at me like, but when I went, I felt good. And now I'm telling my friends about it and they're open to it and it feels good. Because we bottle, as women, forget women, but humans, we bottle things in. We don't talk about our deepest, darkest secrets to anybody. We don't talk about the traumas that we're going through at home. We
Right.
don't talk about that we're frustrated because the kids just keep screaming left and right, and husband's at work. Or, okay, fine, I found out that you're cheating, so you mean to tell me the whole time I'm at home cooking, cleaning, making sure the kids are good, making sure the kids go to bed, making sure the kids' mental health is stable and good and they're doing great, and you're out having fun while I'm at home taking care of business? That type of resentment is
Yeah.
painful.
Forgiveness is key, really. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't have healed had I not forgiven. And that's a process. It doesn't happen immediately. But when you decide that you don't want to carry that negative weight anymore, it is so freeing. I did, for me, and everyone does it differently, I did a couple of ceremonies for forgiveness. And it really made a difference. And there was
Yeah.
times I forgive the same person over and over again because it kept coming back to want to hang on. And
Hmm.
so good when you can let go and, free your soul of all that negative energy and resentment.
Right. And what are some misconceptions that people that are, trying to heal from betrayal and deception, what are some misconceptions that you've run into that people have in their mind and they're trying to clear the way from believing?
Believing that it happened, or I'm sorry, I don't, the question was again, I'm sorry.
So a lot of people, what are some common misconceptions that you've noticed that people have when they're trying to heal from betrayal?
Number one, that they're alone. Number two, that there is hope. I have heard that they feel, well, I've lived my best life and I'm not happy anymore, but at least I had that. And they're just doing it one day at a time, but not really experiencing the joy because they feel they're still looking in their rearview mirror and saying, well, that was great, but I'll never have that again. And you really are what you think sometimes. If you think that, the mind is so powerful. And if we think positive about ourselves and about others, positive's going to be surrounding us. I love to have friends of mine that are there to lift me up, not to bring me down. So I like to surround myself with positive energy. And I think it's really important. And I'm not saying that be joyful, happy all the time, because there are times that you just need a good cry. And that's healing too. It's like, that's just, a cleansing to weep. And it's, like I said, it's different for everyone. But realize that you don't have to live in that stuck place. I don't like to use the word stuck, but where you just haven't moved forward. You're carrying this ball and chain around. You can
Like a
still
cycle.
and go places, but it's a very heavy feeling. You don't feel like you're free yet, and it's not a happy place to be in. So I choose joy.
I choose joy, and you
Yeah.
are joy. Your book, Deception Lazion, is a survival guide for navigating emotional wreckage of betrayal. I know you spoke a little bit about, you went through your own healing process from betrayal, but what was that moment that led you to really write that book and just want to share with other people?
It was when I started looking back on my journaling about 3 years into it and realizing that I'd forgotten a lot of the things that I had written down, especially in the beginning. And I was like, wow, I bet, because I did this, this, and this. And when I started to recognize the things that I did to delay, where I could have been, it there was a light bulb moment, like I can help people with works, because I can share what I did wrong, what I did right, and there's different ways to do it right. But I'm going to offer those different ways so that they don't feel lost and alone, and they have options, and they will find something that works for them.
And where can we find this book?
So, great question. It is going to be on pre-sales the beginning of December. And if you go to my website, it is the number 4, betrayaltrauma.com, betrayaltrauma.com. And if you click on pre-order and scroll down and put your email address and your name, you will be the first and only group who is able to pre-purchase it and receive it before it hits the stands around Christmas time. And 100% of the profit from pre-sales are going to feedingamerica.org.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, giving back, it really is.
And that's what it's about, is giving back hope, not even just feeding, but hope and
Yeah,
love in people.
yeah, absolutely.
We see so many stories about people going through traumatic things, but we don't talk about what happens after. What happens after the noise settles down? The dust is not smoking in their faces anymore. They're at home by themselves. They still got to work. They still got to take care of their family and take care of themselves.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
happens after? And when I seen that you are on this purpose journey, helping people heal from betrayal, not just in relationships with our spouses, our partners, it's friendships as well, family betrayal, because we
yeah,
go through it. There's
yeah,
so many different types of betrayal.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And if you think about it, it's like you almost are expected to just get over it.
Yeah, I had someone tell me that once. I didn't take it too well.
Yeah.
Kind of when you walk in a mile in someone's shoes, you can tell them that. That's like telling someone, oh, there's a timeline for grieving. You can't, because everyone's different.
Everyone's different.
That's not a very nice thing to say. So don't say that to anyone who's experienced it, because I know people that have felt in a bad place for years down the road. And rather than saying get over it, offer them hope, to feel better.
Yeah. And I like to say, you said it before, because I always give this example. When we were younger, teenagers in our early 20s, we used to say to each other, "Ooh, if our boyfriends ever cheated on us, yeah, right, I'm gonna do this to him, I'm gonna do that to him." We used to make all these things up in our minds about what we would do, how we would handle it. We wouldn't stay with the person.
Oh,
And when it happened, right? And I'm like,
yeah,
when it happened to me, I was like, what do I do now? I had no idea what everything I said went out the window.
yeah, same.
So unless you lived it, unless you've experienced it, you'll never know it.
Right, right. And that's why I think it's so important to get help from someone who has experienced that,
Yeah.
because they understand. They've been there. And that's where I also went to the PBT Institute, where I took a lot of my healing courses. And there's a quiz, and you're ranked from 1 to 5. And then they kind of customize the courses depending on where you came in. Like, did you first find out about betrayal? Are you kind of in the middle, or you're at a 5 and you're doing really well? And, so many different options depending on where you are. And it's great.
Your mission to empower others who have faced betrayal and trauma by sharing your story is truly a testament.
Yeah,
When you offer yourself to be that person that says, I'm a living proof that that wasn't your end all and that was just a season and you'll get through it. It's truly powerful. And I want to thank you for being present and continuing to be present and continuing to show up and show up as your authentic self. Because that's what gives people the real hope, is when you're your authentic self in the flesh, showing them that I've gone through different seasons in my life, but I'm here and
Right.
I'm present. And my voice is here to encourage you. So I thank you. I thank you, Samantha, for just being you and allowing yourself to go through that healing process, because, you were meant to be here.
Yeah.
And if there's any advice that you'd want to give, any inspiration, a voice of encouragement, a message to people that are going through their season of betrayal.
I would say the most important thing is take care of yourself. Find ways that self care is a priority, whether it's journaling, whether it's meditation at the end of the day. You might be overwhelmed with having to do, the house chores and the laundry and the kids and working and back and forth. And, take time, make time for yourself. And also, I just know that you're not alone. I have a private Facebook group. It's called Help for Betrayal Trauma, and it's women helping women, and it's all the women who have experienced betrayal trauma offering what worked for them. And it's a great community. We have fun too. We have a game that we are playing. It's actually going to be live tomorrow. Never have I ever, never have I ever put dish soap in my husband's or my partner's, um, oh, things like that. So we have a little fun too. Innocent fun, and, don't try it at home if you have.
Don't try it at home.
Yeah,
Disclaimer.
yeah. But little things like that that just put a smile on your face, because I really want not only to offer hope, I want to offer that, there's joy. Take the moment to laugh and smile, and, you know, um, stop and smell the roses, but pick them and put them in a bouquet and put them in your room and brighten up the room. We just, life is good, and don't settle for where you are if you're not happy.
I love that. And how could anybody reach out to you if they just want to connect with you, get some encouragement from you, maybe some coaching and
You can through my Facebook group. Also, there's a link on my website for coaching sessions, but you don't have to reach out to me for a coaching session. But if you just want to reach out to me, I'll respond via email, because I'll get that. Once you submit that, I'll get the email. And yeah, that's a good way to get a hold of me.
don't stop at betrayal. Keep
No.
going forward.
Right. It's like there's a song, if you're going through hell, keep on going. Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to
Don't
see.
let betrayal don't let betrayal block your heart.
Right.
Don't let betrayal hold you hostage.
Right. I like
Keep
that.
moving forward.
Yeah.
I believe that every experience in life is for a reason, purpose, and a season. We hear it all over: a reason, purpose, and season. But it truly is, because life is life. Life is beautiful. Life is about experiencing different things, whether it be painful, whether it be joy, whether it be peace. You're meant to enjoy every part of your life
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
continue going through and meeting new people. I have this theory. It took me a while to get to this part in my life, because I always said, to my fiance, I used to be like, oh my God, if he hurts me, I'm done. I'm not going to be with anybody else in my life. But then it clicked to me. Think of it this way: it's like starting a new job. When you first finish school, whether it's university, college, you went to trade school, whatever route you took, you have to get experience first. So you start a job, you get the experience, and then you move on because now you're more qualified than you were when you first started. So you move on to something new and you keep rising and you keep elevating. Each person that comes into our life, whether it be good or a bad experience, we have to keep rising. And we have to allow ourselves to continue meeting people because everybody has something for us. Whether it's a lesson that we needed to learn, something we needed to experience, whether it be our children, whether it be the marriage, whether it was something that we needed to learn about ourselves and grow in, develop, and change, everybody takes us into a new season of our life. So
Yeah.
don't stop at that person and tell yourself, well, that's it. That's my end all be all. I can't be with anybody else. I can't get into another relationship. That's not true. I believe that you can. You got to love yourself first and trust yourself. Trust your intuitions, your heart, mind, body, and soul, and allow yourself to heal.
Love it.
Samantha Bailey. Samantha Bailey, thank you so much for this powerful interaction, this powerful connection with people that need it. Because betrayal is so painful and we don't even realize it. Betrayal can cause sickness in our body, confusion in our mind, and it can keep us still. But with people like you, they're teaching us how to heal from betrayal. The motor starts running. Our purpose starts spewing out. So I want to thank you for your presence and your love that you continue to give other people because you are love.
Thank you.
And I pray that we get to continue this conversation and we will have more conversations like this so people can heal from within.
Absolutely.
And you continue to be a blessing, continue to be peace and such a divine spirit in every room that you enter. Because that love was naturally in you when you were forming in your mother's womb. And I hope that you know that and you believe that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Every second we're easily triggered, and there's things that will remind us of what we went through. But remember that for every little piece of scar, it's a greater love that God has for you. It didn't break you, it made you stronger. Look at you now. Look at you.
I have a verse that really brought me through. It's in Colossians, I don't know, but it's don't be afraid because of them. Have strength and courage, and fear not, for I am always with you. So when I felt alone in my darkest times, that was the verse that really spoke to me, that I clung to, and I kind of got it tattooed down here too.
Ooh, I love it. God shows up and he just keeps showing up. Sometimes we don't believe it because we can't see it and we can't hear it, but in every interaction, every person, there's a message. You just gotta listen. And you listened.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't want to listen because you want to do it your way, but when you let God, it just always works out better than your way.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, I'm still learning it.
And you said something that I was gonna say, and this is how you know that everything that God does is the connection. You said tears are for cleansing, and before you said that, I was gonna tell you about a song, and it says tears are for cleansing.
Oh
I'm
wow.
gonna send it to you.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. Because it
Oh,
talks about tears. Tears, it's a language. You don't even have to pray. Once you're in your room, wherever you are, your quiet place, and you're crying to God, he hears you through your tears because tears are a language. We're speaking through our tears. And it's also cleansing us because
it
we
is.
needed to get it out.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta
Yeah.
send you that song. And listen to the words of it.
I will.
When you feel like crying, it's another cleanse that you needed. So I love you and I thank you. And I pray that you continue to stomp in your purpose and make the earth shake.
Phenomenous. Cold ink.